Hey, this is Tyrese Anderson. What I want to talk about right now is how the black community can improve economically. So, for this video, I'll talk about two main ways we can improve economically that make sense because they're realistic, and because they're realistic, they're believable, and because they're believable, it is something that people can do. So, our community can make more money and we can live a much more better life and as a result of that get more of what we want from life and have to deal with less discrimination. Now, let's get started with the first point when it comes to how the black community can improve economically. The first answer to that question when it comes to how the black community can improve economically is simply due to the fact it's simply due to the idea of diversifying our jobs. Now, I don't know if anyone's ever heard this point before, but the truth of the matter is that one of the biggest points people have made in the past, which of course, like anything that relates to the masses, tends to usually get overlooked and tends to be ignored or just is considered a talking point that is invalid or has been disproven because a so and so person presented it the wrong way or something. The truth of the matter is this is actually a very good point. Is that the biggest reason why the black community is so poor and why as a result we should diversify our jobs is simply due to the fact that the black community is extremely poor because we only focus on, as a community in general as a whole, on two fundamental skills: music and sports, which has actually been that way for quite some time. And the problem with with doing those two skills, is simply due to the fact that music and sports are literally literally not only due to the factor that it's a limited field of work, because there's only two fundamental job opportunities. Most people in that field of work, simply put it, don't make it. And that's simply the truth of the matter. Most people it don't make it. Most people who get in that field for any one or two don't make it. And this is what I'm kind of getting at as to why we need to diversify our job set. Because the truth of the matter is, like I was saying before, is that when it comes to those two skills, the truth of the matter is that when it comes to music, anyone knows anything about music, is that music, when it comes to becoming successful, especially with the society we live in nowadays, and same thing with sports too, is that everyone wants to be top dog. Everyone wants to be the next big thing or the next big musician, the next big this, the next big that. And the same thing with athletics as well. Everyone wants to be the next big thing, like the next Usain Bolt track racer or the next big basketball player, the next big footballer or any of that stuff. But the truth of the matter is, most people don't make it because those two fields of work are extremely demanding and are tend to be skills that tend to relate more to people who are successful. Now, like any community of people, which easily in America there's tens of millions of African Americans, um, to really think that the majority of people would be fit to become successful in a field of work that's so limited is simply ridiculous, and it simply doesn't make any sense, which is the reason why we need to diversify our jobs. Because the truth about diversifying jobs is that when you diversify your job field, since there's so many different options, it increases the likelihood you will see success. Because if you say, like, you only have two skills that your community tends to focus on versus maybe easily 10, 20 major different skills, it increases the likelihood that you will see success in a certain area. Not to mention, skills outside of music and sports tend to be more easy or more straightforward, which most people would be able to do. While music and sports tend to be actually literally two of the hardest skills out there, really, to really become successful in, pretty much, because just the way the skills are set up. So that's what I'm trying to get at here, is that we need to diversify our job set, because when you diversify the jobs that we do, it makes it easier for us to see success. You can have people who are, for example, doctors. You can have people who run their own stores, like their own I guess you could say, even their own music store. If they're interested in selling cassette tapes, you can have people who have merchandise stores. You can have people who do this, who do that. The greater amount of people you have who do different things, the greater the chances of seeing success in any particular field. Okay, so that's the first reason why what I think we need to do in order to economically improve. The second thing we need to do, truth be told, is that we need to start as well having better business practices. Because the thing, what I've heard about a lot of um, black businesses, which is actually the best job field for us to do, because when you're a business owner, you pretty much run the place and you run things in a way you want to run it, instead of having some like white person or some Asian or someone from some other community people run things for you, and you take orders from them and they don't even treat you that well. They treat you that well, which I'm certain in most cases it kind of, whether we want to admit it or not, in mainstream society it probably kind of is that way. The truth of the matter is, when it comes to becoming a successful being a successful business owner, you can do things the way you want to do it, or you can have someone who at least looks like you, who who you work for, so it's more relatable, doesn't feel as bad. And the truth of the matter is that it's very helpful for us to have businesses. But even then, the thing is that a lot of black businesses tend to be bad and don't tend to do very well. And there's a few big reasons why they don't do well. One of the biggest things they tend to not do well is um, they tend to they tend to have people who have attitudes or bad behavior. They tend to overprice things, and they tend to have people, depending on the type of business, of course, who, but even then, it's still a business, who show up late to things. Like, let's just say you have somebody who says that they're gonna fix your TV in your house, or maybe, for example, it's gonna clean your pool or do this or do that for you. A lot of these people don't who run these businesses don't show up on time when they're supposed to go to a place. And that's one of the worst things you can do whenever you run a business, is not show up on time when you're not supposed to go to a place. Because it just makes people say, like, what the F are you doing? So that's the truth of the matter, in all honesty, which a lot of black businesses do. But even aside from that point, when it comes to the two main things, when it comes to um, black businesses, those are things that we could definitely work on. Because the truth of the matter is, if you run a business, is it so hard to teach people to not to be nice to people, or at least relatively decent towards people? Is it so hard to not overprice things? Because overpricing things is literally something that is actually one of the most ridiculous things that black businesses do. Because anyone who knows anything about business knows that there's an average price for things. Like, if you buy food from a restaurant and it's takeout food, the price range for it historically, of course, before inflation has come along, has been easily 10 something dollars for something. So if something's easily like 10 something dollars for something, um, 10-ish dollars, you realize, okay, I'm going to sell things around that price range. And I'm going to also look at what the other customers, well, not even customers, other businesses are doing. Of course, being um discreet about it. I'm gonna see what they're doing so I can compete with them. So I can obviously sell things at a lower price, or figure out how I can compete with them by selling things at a lower price or just doing deals so I can compete with them. That's not a very hard thing to do, particularly if you're a business owner and that's your life, that's what you're expected to do. Anyone can do that. So the truth of the matter is that if we can do work on those things, our businesses and our community in general become richer instead of poor like they are now. So that's the truth about black businesses, or just in general black economics. For us to succeed, I know this is easier said than done. Those are the two things we need to work on as a community. Because if we don't work on those two things, then how the fuck are we gonna be able to improve? Music and sports is not a good economic opportunity. And anyone knows anything um about those two particular fields, says it's very hard to make it in. Okay, and not every black person, for example, has that in them to just be able to just, to just be a freaking beast at everything. Not to mention, even just comes down to even basic economics. How like, are we just going to do those two things? Is that the only thing we're going to do um in life? This is what I'm trying to say. So the truth of the matter is, truth be told, those are two tips of advice of what we need to do in order to build our community. And once we build our community up and we can economically make more money, easier said than done, I know. But if we're able to do it, we will be able to live much happier lives. And because we have more money, people are not as willing to mess with us and give us a hard time like the police do, stopping us and asking us stupid questions and stuff. And we'd be on a path to living much better, happier lives. So that's my solution. This is my video. I hope you liked it. If you like videos like this, remember to thumbs this up and hit the subscribe button. That's all I have to say. Simply put it, later.